cancer hates. That's what we want to give the body an environment where cancer cannot thrive. So what does it hate?
Did you know that cancer cells consume 15 times more glucose than normal cells? Or that an overly acidic body provides the perfect breeding ground for tumors? These aren't just interesting facts. They're the key to understanding how cancer grows, and more importantly, how to stop it. Barbara O'Neill has spent years studying the science behind natural cancer treatments. This video will break down the latest research on cancer's vulnerabilities and show you exactly how to exploit them. You'll learn about the power of an alkaline diet, the importance of oxygenation, and the surprising connection between fungus and cancer. Get ready to arm yourself with knowledge that could save your life or the life of someone you love. I'm going to tell you something that might shock you. Your body could be a perfect breeding ground for cancer right now. It's not a pleasant thought, but it's important to understand why this might be happening. Let's talk about the 3 things cancer loves: an acidic environment, lack of oxygen, and lots of sugar. Barbara O'Neill credits these key factors that create an ideal home for cancer cells to thrive and multiply. But here's what's crazy. Many of us are unknowingly creating this exact environment in our bodies every day. We need to understand how cancer cells differ from normal cells. They consume glucose at 15 times the rate of healthy cells. This isn't just a small difference. It's a massive energy grab that fuels rapid tumor growth. What's the problem with that? Well, our modern diet is practically force-feeding cancer. Think about it. How many sugary drinks, processed snacks, and refined carbohydrates do you consume in a day? Each one of these foods contributes to an acidic environment in your body and provides an abundance of glucose for cancer cells to feast on.
You deprive cancer cells of glucose, they self-destruct because they depend on high amounts. And this is how chemotherapy works. So the cancer cell will consume 15 times the glucose of any other cell. The cancer cell will consume 15 times the chemotherapy.
Let me show you some eye-opening research on how common foods directly fuel tumor growth. Dr. Otto Warburg, who won a Nobel Prize for his work on cancer, discovered that cancer cells cannot survive in an oxygenated environment. Yet many of the foods we eat daily create the opposite condition. They reduce oxygen levels in our bodies and increase acidity. Take a moment to think about your typical meal. Is it full of fresh, alkalizing vegetables? Or is it heavy on meats, dairy, and processed foods? If it's the latter, you might be inadvertently creating the perfect storm for cancer growth. But don't worry, I'm not just here to scare you. There's good news coming. Barbara O'Neill emphasizes a crucial point. Cancer hates an alkaline environment. This simple statement is the key to understanding how we can use food as a powerful weapon against cancer. By shifting our body's pH balance towards alkalinity, we create an environment where cancer cells struggle to survive. But it's not just about adding good foods, it's also about eliminating the bad. Remember those acidic, sugary foods we talked about earlier? They're off the menu now. By cutting out processed foods, excess meat, and dairy, you're essentially cutting off cancer's fuel supply. As powerful as these nutritional strategies are, there's another surprising connection to cancer that we need to explore. It's a factor that's often overlooked, but could be a game changer in how we understand and treat this disease. The fungus-cancer connection, a hidden epidemic. We've talked about starving cancer, but what if we're missing a crucial piece of the puzzle? There's a controversial theory that's turning heads in the medical community. It suggests that to truly beat cancer, we need to wage war on an unexpected enemy: fungus. Fungal overgrowth could be at the root of many cancers. This idea flies in the face of conventional cancer treatment, but the evidence, while not conclusive, is compelling. Dr. Tullio Simoncini, an Italian oncologist, has been at the forefront of this research. His findings are nothing short of groundbreaking. Simoncini claims that in every case of cancer he examined, he found some form of yeast or candida present. It's not just a coincidence. He believes there's a fundamental link between cancer and fungal infections.
So is all cancer caused by a fungus? Well, not necessarily so. But as Dr. Tullio Simoncini found, that there was a factor in just about every case. And so the million-dollar question is, how do we get it out of the body? A person can have fungus in their body and not have cancer. But if it's well fed, it'll certainly develop into it. So how does it get out of your body? Number one, you have to starve it. So what's its favorite food? And if you're not going to give it sugar, it'll happily accept all the glucose from your fruit. So when someone comes to us with cancer, we suggest they have no fruit for 6 weeks. They can eat lots of vegetables, legumes, nuts, and seeds.
Now, you might be thinking, fungus? Really? But here's the thing. Fungal exposure is far more common in our daily lives than you might realize. Think about moldy food, damp environments, or even poorly ventilated areas in your home. These are all potential sources of fungal exposure. And it's not just about what you can see. Fungi can enter your body through inhalation, skin contact, or ingestion. But it's not just Dr. Simoncini making these claims. Professor Constantini, a former head of the World Health Organization's Department of Mycology, has cited over 30,000 research papers supporting the link between cancer and fungal infections. That's a staggering amount of evidence that we can't ignore. So what happens when we start treating cancer as if it were a fungal infection? The results are intriguing. Some researchers have experimented with antifungal therapies as a way to combat cancer. While the medical community is still divided on this approach, there are cases where patients have seen remarkable improvements. This fungal connection could explain why some natural treatments are so effective against cancer. Remember those alkalizing foods and green drinks we talked about earlier? Many of them have potent antifungal properties. It's possible that by creating an alkaline environment and incorporating antifungal foods, we're not just starving cancer cells, we're also combating the underlying fungal problem. But knowing this isn't enough, you need practical tools to fight back. In the next section, we'll explore specific strategies to address fungal overgrowth and create an environment where cancer can't thrive. From dietary changes to natural antifungal remedies, you'll learn how to build your own cancer-fighting arsenal, starting right in your own kitchen. Remember when your grandmother insisted on that strange-tasting herbal tea? Well, she might have been onto something. The line between food and medicine is about to get blurry. And the best part? You don't need a prescription to start using them today.
There are herbs that will kill fungus and won't kill you. Isn't that good news? And my book lists them. There's olive leaf extract. There's also grapefruit seed extract. There's also oregano essential oil. Start lightly. There's a South American herb called pordiaco. Garlic is a strong one, but don't use all your ammunition at once. Do a week on this one, a week on that one, a week on that one, a week on that one, because the microorganisms have the ability to adapt and adjust. So every week you change.
Let's start with some potent natural remedies that have shown promise in combating fungal infections linked to cancer. Olive leaf extract, grapefruit seed extract, and oregano essential oils are not just for cooking anymore. These powerhouses pack a punch against fungal overgrowth, potentially disrupting cancer's cozy environment. But as Barbara says, rotate these herbs weekly. This clever strategy prevents those pesky microorganisms from adapting, keeping your anti-cancer regimen strong and effective. Now let's talk about the unsung hero of cancer-fighting nutrition, green drinks. These aren't your average smoothies. Made from wild greens or super greens, these potent concoctions are like kryptonite for cancer cells. They're powerful alkalizing agents, transforming your body into a hostile environment for cancer growth. It's like changing the soil pH in your garden. Suddenly, those weeds, or in this case, cancer cells, just can't thrive. But don't just take my word for it. Let me share a real-life example that might hit close to home. Elizabeth, a woman with 3 tumors in her abdomen, and decided to take control of her health through diet.
We had one lady, her name was Elizabeth Cott. Amazing story. She came to us 8 years ago with 3 tumors in her abdomen. It's probably nearly 10 years ago now. And she was in her 60s then. And she didn't like what the doctor was offering. And the doctor said, "You got to do chemo immediately." But she decided not to. She came to our health retreat. And at the health retreat,
she followed an antifungal diet and incorporated green drinks into her daily routine. The results? After just 6 months, one of her tumors completely disappeared. This isn't an isolated incident. Another patient, a man with prostate cancer, reported being cancer-free after 3 months on a strict alkaline diet.
So the next time she went back was about a year after her first visit. And the doctor said, "I don't understand this, but one of your tumors is totally gone." I think it was 6 months later, the other tumor had totally gone. She said, when I go to see the doctor today, the oncologist, the specialist, the doctors are there and they just look at her. They don't understand what's happening to her.
Let me tell you, what we've covered today isn't just theory, it's changing lives. Elizabeth Cott, a cancer survivor, shared her eye-opening realization. I believe I was feeding my cancer with these sugary desserts. I did not realize. Her story is a powerful reminder of how our everyday choices impact our health. Remember, your body has an incredible ability to heal itself when given the right tools. As Dr. Colin Campbell wisely stated, genetics loads the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger. This emphasizes the significant impact our daily habits can have on cancer outcomes. The power to fight cancer naturally is in your hands. What will you do with this information? Will you start incorporating more alkaline foods into your diet? Cut back on sugar? The choice is yours, but the potential benefits are life-changing.